So you finally did it. You got your high school diploma, free from the hellscape, and now you have to go into the real world. Some people would take a gap year, finally start working full time, or if you don't have the privilege of giving yourself a break, you just do what everyone else is doing, going back to school. Yay! Oh. And recently just finishing up my first year of college, I just want to take the time to tell you guys about how my first year went, the pros and cons, and offer a tip or two to make sure you guys have a better experience. Or a less stressful one. Alright, boom. Day 1 orientation. I sit down. I'm nervous. I didn't know what I was getting into. I needed to and at some point, someone tapped me on the shoulder. I was thinking, oh my gosh, I finally get to talk to someone. So I turn around and I go, yes? Hey, you forgot to take off your tag on your sweater. Oh. So I thanked him, ripped the tag off, and tried to forget that happened. At the end of orientation, I actually ended up making 2 friends, but I only had one of their contacts and we only exchanged a few words after that. The first 3 months of the semester, let's just say it wasn't that fun. It was a new school, a new environment, and more importantly, new people to talk to. And since I went to a really small high school, I was practically stuck with the same people since 7th grade, and so it was kind of hard to make new friends. And even though I attend a relatively small college, I don't hear anybody talking. I swear, you can walk into any room and all you're going to hear is crickets. Even in places that are supposed to be social lounges, nobody's saying a word. The most you're going to hear are conversations like this. Hey, can I borrow a pencil? To keep it blunt, I felt really lonely. Most of my classes were lecture-based, and the one class that consisted of class participation, I couldn't really keep a single connection with anyone. Of course, making close friends doesn't happen overnight, and they usually happen when you least expect it. Foreshadowing. Ooh. I just played it back. It sounds so dumb. And you might be wondering, but Lord Skibbity. Yeah, we're not doing that. But Lynn, have you tried talking to other people? Well, yeah, I actually have. In one of my classes, there was a girl who sat in front of me, and I was interested in her. Okay, maybe I had a little crush on her. Stop. I can't believe you guys made me say that. What? Nobody was talking about that. You guys are always getting into my business. Stop. I wanted to talk to her, but I didn't know how. Our class was usually lecture-based, so it would have been extremely distracting if I would just talk to her in the middle of a lecture. And even if I could have talked to her after class, she was usually either the first one out or I would end up choking last minute. So I did what any introverted artist would do and made her a little drawing. I made it, I actually had the balls to give it to her, and she actually really liked it. I honestly felt like throwing up, but I was actually really proud of myself. So I just left and didn't really think much of it until later that day, while I was leaving the stairs to go home, we ended up bumping into each other. She noticed who I was and smiled and said hi. And at that moment, I really wanted to throw up. I was so nervous that I just said hi in the most softest voice ever and just walked away, just like screaming internally, just so embarrassed. But nothing happened after that since I didn't see her after the first semester, so I hope she's doing well. The next friend that I was making, I realized that she was actually in 2 of my classes, so I feel like that was a perfect way to start a conversation without being awkward. We ended up talking, and eventually I got her contacts and thought, wow, I think I just made a friend. But nothing really happened after that, so back to square one. So I sit down in my college algebra class, doodling on my notes, not listening to my teacher, when all of a sudden I noticed a girl who's been sitting next to me for the past few months. We've exchanged a few words before, but I didn't really think much of it, until we started talking more and more. And now we're talking outside of class, and now we have our numbers, and now we're texting each other every day, and start hanging out every day. Wait, did I just make a best friend? Foreshadowing. So it's true when people say that best friends come along the way when you least expect it. So that basically marks the end of my first semester, and I'm just going to skip ahead to the pros and cons since second semester I didn't really make any new friends since all my classes were online, so let's start off with the cons. Get ready to pull out your calculator because college is f***ing expensive. So depending on which classes you take, you'd have to buy a textbook or 2, which would cost a leg and a half. The only class I needed to buy a textbook from was accounting, and every discount I found online either didn't work or was expired. So unfortunately I had to pay full price for it, but it came with the course and I got an A on it, not with the help of the textbook. That thing was just as boring as my professor's lectures. Speaking of professors, since each course usually takes a whole semester to complete, professors are zooming through lessons. Your professor's teaching quadratic functions on the board, you blink, next thing you know, your professor's teaching conic sections. And I'm not gonna blame the professors since they have to teach a whole course to multiple classes in under 5 months, but all of the pressure of remembering 5 units for an exam just to open the test and realize the first question is something you didn't study for, and you just sit there accepting your fate. And bonus, when you fail the test and your professor's like, well, you should have studied harder, but I did. Let's just move on to the next one before I start thinking about dropping out. This one's just a follow-up to the college's expensive con, but the food. Oh my god, Why is a salad $7? My school doesn't offer housing, so there's no dining hall for students, but a tiny food court where anyone can pay out of pocket for some cold-ass pizza.
Brother,
One time I was hanging out with some friends and wanted to treat them to anything, being their little sugar daddy and all. And the total came up to $23. I started bringing lunch from home more because paying for food in this economy on my salary? Yeah, can I get a double deluxe? Alright, moving on to the pros. Alright, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'm kidding. College does have some good opportunities, such as meeting new people, study abroad, and job opportunities. I even got a job at the school newspaper not too long ago. Okay, funny story, but there was a job fair on campus, and I pulled up with my friends since I didn't want to be alone. I was talking to some people, and they had some little trinkets on their booth, and one of them reached out their hand, and my brain was like, oh, they want to shake my hand. So I shook his hand, and he just gave me this confused look, and he just went, I just wanted to offer you a trinket that you can take. Oh. So I awkwardly took one and left the booth. And it's not that bad considering that we were at a job fair, but I ended up doing the same thing again. Always fun making first impressions in a business setting. Okay, what else? Freedom. You get a lot of freedom to do shit that couldn't slide in high school. The freedom of getting up to use the restroom without telling the teacher, or better yet, just leaving altogether. You're paying for the class. The professor doesn't care what you do. And if you're living on campus this year, get ready to leave your child at home, move in, and realize you should have thought twice about who you're going to be staying with for the next 8 months. And with this newfound freedom comes the ability to switch to any major you want if your first choice just doesn't stick with you. You've probably had your family or friends recommend majors like nursing or law, but you're in college, you don't need to listen to them. Get that liberal arts degree like you've always wanted. But in all seriousness, choosing your degree is a big deal. I mean, you're paying to get it, so you want it to pay off. But if the one you chose just isn't working out for you, there's always an option to change it so you don't feel like the degree you earn is going to waste. And finally, for the class of 2029. Yeah, you. I'm talking to you. Just gonna leave you here with some tips that'll make college not feel like you're stepping on needles all the time. If you're choosing your classes, I only have 3 words. Rate my professor. Use it! You can find your professors and read reviews from previous students to see which professor you can narrow down to. Notability! If you have an iPad, I highly recommend getting this app. Not sponsored. It's a great note-taking app for any course. You can add your assignments and do your work on there. And while you're taking notes, there's a voice recording tool so that you can record your professor's lectures so you can go back and jot down things you might have missed. Student discounts. Don't skip on those deals, man. I'll show them on screen here in some apps that showcase a list of discounts and offers to use. And last but not least, put yourself out there. I know I mentioned how antisocial other students can be, probably one yourself, but trust me, it's not always going to be like that. Don't know where to start? Join a club. Like music? Club. Video games? Club. Feet? Club. Give other people a chance. There's really no harm in doing so, and if it doesn't work out, then find your next victim. Just be yourself and be open to meeting new people, because you never know who you're going to meet.